What is up, Designer Malcolm family? Designer Malcolm here with another video in the Design School Dropout series. I hope you're enjoying these. In this lecture, we're going to talk about designing for screens. That is an important foundation that you need to understand if you are a product designer, graphic designer, or UI UX designer. This can really help your game. So, without further ado, let's hop into this, and I'll see you in the lecture.
I got to my bestie, someone call my bestie. Say God from my bestie, link up, make the check bleed. You know that I'm smoking dope, I'll be hot till next week. No, I had to let her go, cause she can't arrest me. Tell her what's up, tell her what's up, tell him it's on, tell him it's on, tell her what's up, tell him what's up, tell him it's on, tell him it's on, tell her what's up, tell him what's up, tell him it's on, tell him it's on, tell her what's up, tell him what's up, tell him it's on.
What is up, YouTube family? Designer Malcolm here, and today I want to introduce you to a game-changing AI toolkit that I use every single day in my businesses. It's my secret weapon to staying ahead in a competitive marketplace. You see, we are living in the age of AI, and here's the truth. If you're not leveraging this incredible technology in your design studio, creative freelance business, or agency, you're setting yourself up to fall behind. Slow businesses lose, period. As a creative entrepreneur, I get it. I've been there, juggling a dozen different tools just to keep my business running. I had Notion for a knowledge base, DocuSign for invoicing, Calendly for scheduling, Webflow for websites, ClickUp for project management, School for my community, Slack for my team communication, and HubSpot for my CRM. The list was endless, and the chaos was real. This kind of tech bloat is a serious problem in our industry, and honestly, it's unnecessary. When your workflow is scattered across multiple tools, your efficiency tanks, and running your business feels like trying to sprint through a swamp. That's why I made the switch. You see, Lancer OS is an all-in-one AI-powered toolkit built specifically for design studios, creative entrepreneurs, freelancers, and agencies. With Lancer OS, you can seamlessly automate client acquisition, streamline project management, improve client communication, send invoices, and honestly, there's so much more, all from one powerful platform. What's the goal? Well, the goal is to help 10,000 businesses like yours eliminate tech bloat, cut costs, and operate like a well-oiled machine. If you're serious about taking your business into the AI age and staying ahead of the curve, now is the time to act. As a part of my design family, and I love you guys, you're getting exclusive access to a 30-day free trial of Lancer OS. Don't wait until you're left behind. Join the 10,000 army already transforming their business today with Lancer OS. So let's build something incredible together, and let's change the industry. Okay, in today's lecture, we're going to talk about designing for different screen sizes. Now, this is something you may hear, responsive design is another term, but it is essential that you get this right. And this is mainly for my people who are in the product design, UX, UI design, and even graphic design space. I do believe it is important no matter what your profession is, just because think about the world we live in and where everyone's attention is. Everyone's attention is on their phone. So even if your medium is painting or if your medium is sculpting, there might be a world or there might be a day where you want to take your skills and your knowledge of being an artist or designer and create something that translates into the uh, digital space. And another cool thing that I love, and I love technology, but there's a whole world in VR, right? So understanding some of these principles and how to design for different screen sizes will not only expand your knowledge, but it'll allow you to think outside of the box and to think about what's possible. And not only that, but these are just some essential fundamentals that you should know when it comes to designing for different screen sizes. So let's get right into it. In this lecture, this is what we're going to cover. We're going to cover why design for different screen sizes. We're going to talk about understanding breakpoints. We're going to talk about fluid grids and flexible layouts. We're going to talk about prioritizing content with mobile first design. We're going to talk about optimizing typography and images. Next, we're going to cover touch friendly design for small screens, then testing across devices. And then obviously, this wouldn't be a design school dropout if I don't give you some common mistakes to avoid. So, without further ado, let's hop right into this. Why design for different screen sizes? So, in today's world, like I mentioned, people access content on their screens. And these screens come in all shapes and sizes. And these screens are going to change. They're not going to just be on your phone anymore. We're now seeing glasses, headwear. So the landscape of hardware is going to evolve. And so you want to just get comfortable in designing for multiple screens. Now, here I have listed smartphones, tablets, laptops, and desktops. Yes, those are some of the core and most common screens, but think about, you know, what's to come and think about what's already out there. And I like to say this because as a designer, we love to get caught up in our own little bubble and only think about the pixels that we're pushing or the paints that we're painting. But personally, I am a design techie. I like to balance the two, and being aware of what's on the horizon can really help you adapt to what's to come. So, not only is smartphones, tablets, and laptops and desktops are some screen sizes, but perhaps you really want to get, like I said, creative and you want to try something new. So, consider VR, consider like the Meta Ray Bans. Like a lot of these new technologies are going to come out with what's called SDKs, which are software development kits. And what that means is that allows developers to create products for these new mediums. And with these new mediums, what is there? Well, there's screens. And so understanding that, right? Designing for different screen sizes, it ensures your content is accessible as well. So from the laptop to the iPad to the smartphone, it makes it accessible. And not only that, but it improves your SEO ranking as search engines prioritize mobile friendly websites. So, you know, if you are putting out some sort of website for a startup, or maybe it's just for your own portfolio or body of work, and you want to optimize for SEO, well, there you have it. Google is going to prioritize mobile friendly websites. Now, honestly, I think a lot of SEO and a lot of how you drive eyeballs is to your work or to your products is by building a personal brand and become an authority in your space. But if you're not into the personal brand thing, well, keep in mind that whatever you're building, you want to make sure that it's mobile friendly as well. Like we talked about in an old lecture, grids help maintain this order for you. It really helps to make sure that your designs are accessible across multiple devices, right? Through maintaining order, balance, making things readable. And then it really elevates your work. It's polished and it gives it a level of professionalism that you'll outshine your peers. And as I mentioned, we like to call this responsive design. It's not just a trend, it's a necessity. I remember when the term responsive design started to emerge. And, it sounds like a trendy word, but it is essential, right? You want your designs to be responsive. And what does that mean? Well, you want it to be flexible, you want it to be dynamic, you want it to respond to different screen sizes and respond well, not just respond, but respond well. So, understanding breaking points. Breakpoints are the foundation of responsive design. They're specific screen widths where your laptop or where, excuse me, your layout adapts to fit the device. Here's some common breakpoints to include. So for mobile, you have 0 to 768 pixels. For tablet, you have 768 to 1024 pixels. Then you have for desktop 1024 pixels and up. So as you see here, if you notice the pattern, on the higher end of the range for the subsequent device becomes uh, the starting point for the next device. Now, this relationship works well with mobile, tablet, and desktop, and that's primarily where 99% of you will probably be creating your work. But this is just something to help you when it comes to breakpoints. Now, by planning your design around these breakpoints, you can create layouts that look great on any screen. Fluid grids and flexible layouts. So, what are fluid grids? A fluid grid uses percentages instead of fixed units like pixels to make layouts scalable. For example, instead of defining a column as 300 pixels, you might set it to 25% of the screen width. Why does this matter? Like what's the benefit is of this? Well, it ensures your screen content adjusts dynamically no matter the screen size, right? So when you work in the fluid grid percentages, it really allows that dynamic ability for your content to adjust no matter the screen size. And as I mentioned in a subsequent lecture, we talked about some of the tools. Figma allows you to do this, as well as Adobe XD. They make it super easy to implement these grids that scale fluidly. So Figma is a free tool. Adobe XD, you could probably get 7-day free trial, but like I said, I would go Figma. It's free. You get a free board, and the collaborative environment and support community out there is amazing. So, but anyway, these are just two tools. There's tons of them out there. You can do Sketch, you could do Corel Draw. That's an old one, but yeah. Anyway, these tools they allow you to implement these fluid grids. So, mobile first design. Why? Well, the reason why you want to prioritize content with mobile first design is because think about where 99% of people's attention is. It's common sense. It's mobile. Everyone's on their phone. It's common sense. You see, mobile first design, it basically what that means is it's starting with the smallest screen and then scaling up. This is a better approach than starting with, let's say, a laptop and scaling down. And this is a problem that I have, and I'm going to be completely transparent with you. I I need to be better about this. I usually start with the desktop or laptop and go the other way around. It doesn't slow my workflow down anymore, but just as good practice, don't do what I do. I would say start with mobile first. And what this does is it forces you to prioritize the most important content, which is key because you can only fit so much on a screen. So if you, on a phone screen, and a lot of the problems we have with being, as being designers is we over design sometimes, right? And so if you start with the smaller screen, it really forces you to be lean with your design. And what it does is it ensures a clean, focused experience for mobile users, right? And then once your mobile layout is solid, you can add enhancements for larger screens without overwhelming the user. So that's the beautiful thing is by having a mobile first design, it really forces you to distill on the important elements of the user experience, right? And then you get that dialed in, you get that polished, then you can add enhancements for larger screens as you design for the big boys. So always do not do what designer Malcolm does. Designer Malcolm is not perfect by any means. I am human, but I can teach you of like what not to do, and do not. And honestly, If it depends on what you're designing, right? But a lot of stuff you're gonna want it to work on mobile. Um, Start with a mobile first design approach, and then I would scale up. That's just best practice. All right. Optimize your typography and images. Typography and images can really make or break design across screen sizes, right? You can't have the same size font on a website that's meant for desktop show up and be, accessible or have a good experience for the user on mobile, right? It's going to be way too big. So you want to use scalable fonts, with relative units like EM or REM for consistent sizing. You also want to make sure that you're optimizing your images for fast loading on smaller screens. So use tools like Tiny PNG. You can't have a big, beautiful graphic image that you perhaps downloaded from Unsplash. Caught that there. And then try and use that to be the same image for your mobile website, right? So the reason why this is important too is one of the crawling bots or one of the metrics that search engines like to factor in is the loading speed or the loading times for websites. So if you have a bunch of big pretty graphics that you're trying to have on load for a phone as well as the desktop, it's not going to work. So make sure you're optimizing these images. Then you want to test how text and images look excuse me, at different resolutions to ensure the readability and clarity is there. And I like to say, like, you always want to prioritize clarity and speed for mobile users. Um, and this might be at the expense of your design. Maybe your little pretty font is just not optimal for mobile, right? And that's why I always say start with mobile first. There's been many times where I've done it my way and I had to redo a lot of things, a lot of my designs because I didn't start with a mobile first approach. So always prioritize clarity and speed for mobile users. We're in the swipe generation. We swipe left, we don't like it. So keep that in mind. All right, now we're going to talk about touch friendly design for small screens. So, on small screens, touch friendly design is key. You want to make buttons large enough to tap easily, at least, at a minimum, at least 48 by 48 pixels, right? Not everyone has the big, ginormous iPhone. As a matter of fact, I have an iPhone 13 mini. I love it. I don't like the big phones. I have one big phone that I use as a separate one for like business and stuff, but my daily, it's a small guy. I like it. It's quick. And honestly, I don't like to spend too much time on my phone. I use it as a tool. And so making sure that you're designing for touch friendly, for small screens and the designs are touch friendly is essential. So 48 by 48 pixels, anything smaller than that starts to get a little bit hairy. Honestly, it's not perfect. A lot of people don't follow this, but as a good principle, something to keep in mind. And then another thing is you want to leave enough space between interactive elements to avoid accidental clicks, right? We don't all have those nice skinny fingers. I have some chunky thumbs, right? And so there's been many times where I've pressed one button and it's not the button I want to press. I actually struggle with this with texting on the iPhone. I like the voice, so I usually use voice and then I go on and edit. It's way faster. But something to keep in mind: spacing, right? Using your grids, like we talked about. Um, Finally, you want to use gestures like swiping or pinching sparingly and test them thoroughly. And then good design anticipates the user's needs and ensures smooth interaction. All right, testing across devices. Testing. Testing is critical to ensure that your design works seamlessly on all screen sizes. Use tools like Browser Stack or Chrome's responsive design mode to preview your design on different devices. You want to test on actual devices whenever possible to check for unexpected issues like scrolling, image distortion, or broken layouts. Test, test, test. Um, you know, don't be a lazy designer. And when you put a lot of work into something, you want to make sure it works. And so when I'm building something, I always load it up on my phone to see how it looks. Use the actual device. I know for some like Swift development or the other development for the Google app places, you'll get what's called like a simulator where you can see what you're coding and see the app. So I recommend those simulators are great, but and it's similar to like if you take your screen and you make it smaller to see how it looks. No, use the actual device. So if you're making something and you're designing for it for an iPad, if you have an iPad, open that iPad up and see what it looks like. We all have phones. We can start there. And as a matter of fact, phones, like I said, it's mobile first. So you can see how your designs look. You can see how things are laid out. And this will really help you down the line. You know, it's one thing to know it's not about visuals. It's about creating a smooth experience for your user. That's essential, right? We want the least amount of friction as possible. We want the least amount of friction. You want things to be smooth. I like to say buttery. You want that butter. And the reason why is if someone gets frustrated with your product or your tool or your website, they will leave and never come back. You've lost that person. People's attention is very short. Think about the swipe culture. We're swipe culture. TikTok, you swipe, swipe, swipe. Instagram Reels, you swipe, swipe, swipe. Everything's scrolling. Everything's scrolling. So if your experience has a lot of friction, there's a lot of issues because you lacked the initiative or you lacked the will to test, you're gonna suffer. And even if you, let's say, you step into the professional world, you're gonna realize like I don't know. You probably have stepped in from being a creative freelancer, or maybe you just want to get a corporate job or whatever you're doing. The one thing I like about corporate is it helps you understand teams and process and structure. And it's, you know, I encourage you that if you don't have a thriving uh, career or studio just yet, um, it wouldn't hurt if you can. It's a shitty job market right now. But if you can, or not even through a job, maybe learn from a mentor or another studio that you look up to or reach out to them. You learn process and you learn structure. Now, what am I getting at? Well, when I was working for some Fortune 200 companies, what you realize is that a part of the process is testing, right? You have a whole department dedicated to this. They're called QA. And we personally, I didn't mind, but my developers hated the QA team because they were so thorough. And I love the QA team because one, I knew what I was doing. So my designs, it was never an issue about design. But what the QA team is checking for is just the quality of the product, right? That the company is putting out. And so this is just a good practice that I picked up working professionally for some companies. And whether you go the route of working professionally and then starting your own thing, you don't need to go corporate to figure this out, but you want to test. You want to test, test, test. I can't stress this enough. Test, 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 test. All right. All right. Looks like we're getting close to the end here. So let me just give you some tips, some sweet, sweet tips. Common mistakes to avoid. All right. So tiny fonts that are hard to read on mobile. Avoid that. Overlapping elements, because it's caused by poor scaling, right? Ignoring performance, always optimize for speed, reduce bounce rates. This ties in with photos and images. And then there's one that I didn't list on here, and we just talked about it, but test, right? Not testing your work, not testing your your um, your designs, right? So if you avoid these, you'll create designs that are polished and professional. And I want all of you to be professional out there. I want all of you to be like, hey, designer Malcolm helped me out. Boom, here's my resume. Here's my work. Stand above your peers. I want you guys to be great. And I want you guys to show amazing work, whether it's for getting hired or it's for getting a client, or maybe it's for showing to the world. So just keep these in mind. There's more mistakes that you'll learn about, but these are some common ones to avoid. All right, we are at a close here, and some final takeaways that I have for this lecture, right? And we always do our final takeaways, so let me read it to you. Designing for different screen sizes is all about flexibility and user focus, right? Flexibility, right? That's that responsiveness. User focus, that's that frictionless, right? So the user is focused on what you've made for them, right? Using fluid grids, breakpoints, touch-friendly designs, it will ensure that your project shines on any device: Android, Apple, laptop, iPad, tablet. So, I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope you found this helpful. Give your boy a thumbs up. Look, what are the next steps? We do this every time. You know the deal. Like, subscribe, and follow your boy, Designer Malcolm. And look, if you run a design studio, you're a creative freelancer, you know the spiel. You need to be on Lancer OS. It's a free 30-day risk-free trial. It won't hurt you. What is Lancer OS? It helps you run your design studio, creative freelance agency like butter. It's so smooth. It's AI powered. It's got a lot of tools in there like invoicing, project management, CRM, you name it. It can really, and my favorite tool actually is the lead generation. Helps you automate your lead flow. I know a lot of you guys are on the hamster wheel of trying to figure out when your next deal or next client is coming through. Lancer OS will solve that for you. So I want to thank you guys for your time. Thank you for tuning in to this lecture in the Design School Dropout series, and I'll catch you on the next one. Love, peace, God bless.